Hello YouTube, welcome back to Geordie's Basement. My name is Jordan, and welcome to 2020. Brand new decade, and I felt sort of inspired. I've been away for a while, not making any content on YouTube, watching a ton of videos, but not making any, and I felt inspired this year for the vinyl tag. I've never done a vinyl tag video. This is I believe my second or third year making videos. Never done one before, but I just felt inspired to do it. So I guess we're going to give that a shot this year. It was fun putting it together. Thank you to, I believe it was Andrew, Tales from the Crate, who came up with the questions for the vinyl tag. If not, whoever you are out there, thank you very much. I saw several variations of it this year. I'm going to use the one that Andrew posted. We'll see what happens. I'm anxious to see your comments and comments about what your favorites were for the year and your answers to the vinyl tag. So, well, without further ado, let's get right to it. There's 20 of these, so I want to get on this. Best find of 2019. So the best find of 2019 for me, and I said it in previous videos, I'm not really a collector of hard to find stuff. That's I don't think the stuff I like is hard to find. Maybe some is, I wouldn't know. But this ELO album, Out of the Blue, is one that for an ELO fan like me, it's embarrassing to say this, I've never owned it before. I think maybe I had it on cassette back in the day in the 70s. But anyways, I've been looking for it for a while whenever I go to record shows and such, and I haven't found one in good shape. I finally found one in good shape. It's got the insert in it. It's really nice, plays great, and it's a fantastic album. So it may not be hard to get, it may not be what some would consider a great find. For me, it's phenomenal, and I'm really happy I got it. So that's ELO, best find of 2019. All right, best favorite album of the year. Well, I've been getting into a lot of new music lately, and this is without a doubt my album of the year. This is a band from Vancouver, Washington. It's called Said the Whale. I'm sorry, Vancouver, British Columbia, I should say. There's two Vancouvers, right? One's north of the border, one's not. Either way, they're from Vancouver. This is Said the Whale. The album is Cascadia. If you like sort of indie rock, not hard, it's more of a folk sound, maybe a little jangly at times. Very well produced, very well performed. A tremendous album front to back, 12 songs, all of them great. And they have a really great presence on YouTube as well. I highly recommend them. Said the Whale. Their whole discography is pretty good. This is by far their best album. It's called Cascadia. So that's my album of the year. Number 3, Novelty album. Like, I gotta put a shout out to my daughter, Sadie, who was with me in the record store one day and said, "Dad, you got to get this. It's Jane Fonda's workout record." I know. How can you consider this a novelty? I mean, this is a smash. It's kind of cool. It actually has some decent tracks on it. The Jacksons are on it, REO Speedwagon, Billy Ocean, Jimmy Buffett's on this album. And it's even got a nice selection of, if you're into soft porn, you can get the positions that Miss Fonda offers. It's actually a 2-record set on the Workout label. The Workout label. They're actually identical records, pretty much, same songs. But one's beginners and one's advanced. So there's your novelty record, Jane Fonda. I got a lot of novelty records back here. I was surprised to see how many I had. That's probably a video on its own. But Jane Fonda's Workout record. Homage cover. Okay, well this was kind of an easy one for me. A big Saturday Night Fever fan. Who isn't? And this was an album that came out several years later. This is from 78. Sesame Street Fever, complete with Grover on the cover, and Cookie Monster, Ernie, and Bert as the Bee Gees characters. This is hysterical. The music is just as funny. It's classic. Sesame Street Fever. I forgot I actually had this, so that's what the vinyl tag does. It makes you go back into your collection and pull out some deep ones. So that's my homage cover, of course, paying homage to the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. All right, number 5, B-side or deep cut. All right, well, this is one that, going this way, okay. This is Neil Young, Trans, an album that most Neil Young people don't like or pan for, obvious reasons. It was really different for him. It was a left turn. A lot of this is electronic. There's not acoustic instruments in some of these songs. It's Neil Young, so there's not, it's just all computers and keyboard things. There are some traditional standard tracks on here, but I was drawn to this album as a kid, and I still like it to this day. So I'm going to count that as my B-side or deep cut. Not many people talk about Trans when they mention Neil Young. So number 6 is Something Funky. All right, Something Funky. I'm going to go, we're going to do a 7-inch single for this one because I first thought it was Sly and the Family Stone, and I realized I don't have any Sly and the Family Stone. I thought I had several albums of theirs. I don't. Got to fix that this year. But this is Earth, Wind, and Fire, Magnetic, and this is more, after their heyday in the 70s. It's a really catchy song. Maurice White produced, and classic Earth, Wind, and Fire. So there's something funky for you. Earth, Wind, and Fire, Magnetic. What's next? Weird Shelf Buddies. Okay, so this was the one that I had to laugh at. You may have seen a previous video of mine, maybe a year and a half ago, where I got this album from a vinyl delivery service called Loincloth. It's an extreme metal instrumental album, and the album is called Psalm of the Morbid Whore. Glare on that one, but I talked more about this when I first got it. I never got into it. It's funny. It's because it's called Psalm of the Morbid Whore, and some of the song titles I can't repeat here. But it sits directly next to a loincloth, next to Huey Lewis and the News, sports on the shelf, which I thought was a pretty funny dichotomy. If you're listening to the albums in order, to go from loincloth to Huey is pretty hysterical. That being said, Huey has a new album coming out this year. Very excited about that. So there's some shelf buddies. I was there. Band I've seen. Oh, this is a good one. One of my favorite bands to see. I don't go to many concerts anymore, but I went to a ton for most of my life. And Van Halen was one that I never missed, especially when David Lee Roth was around. And this album, of course, Fair Warning. It's a classic. The album that came after this, though, the specific concert that I wanted to mention was Diver Down. And I had scored top 4-row seats. I think I was in the 4th row of the Spectrum in Philly. And I was so excited. I was maybe 15 years old at the time, 1982. And it came out a day or two before the concert that Eddie Van Halen had fallen and broken his wrist, his right wrist. I think he fell in the bathtub was the story. I was devastated. But it all turned out well because sure enough, 2 days later, they didn't cancel the show. And Ed came out. He had a cast from here to here. And he was awesome. And I got to see Van Halen in the 4th row with Eddie Van Halen with a broken wrist. He was awesome. So it was great. Who cares? All right, what's next? Wish I had an OG copy, original copy, and I already have a re-release. I'm going to skip that one. I really don't care. I can honestly tell you that out of the 1,000 or whatever albums in my collection, LPs in my collection, I don't even know which ones are original pressings or not. It's not something I pay attention to. I just listen to the music, and if it sounds good, then it works for me. So I don't have any idea. Discography you own. I'm going to skip that one as well. I'm working on a lot of discographies. And I can't count. You can see the Cars box set right there. I mean, it all came in one box. That doesn't really count. But I'm close to the Beatles. I'm close to Barbra Streisand. I'm close to Elton John. I'm close to Billy Joel. I'm close to a lot. I don't have any. Moody Blues is one. But I don't have any one fully complete yet. I'm working towards some of them. So I got to skip that one because I'm not quite there on that one. Unique Center Label. Okay, Unique Center Label. This past year, I've listened to a lot of Joe Jackson. I'm a big fan of Joe Jackson. And this year, his new album, Fool, came out. Phenomenal. It was actually number 2 or 3 on my list. But this is, of course, his classic Night and Day. And one thing I remembered about this album that I thought of here in this question was the album sides. One's the night or the day side, and the other one was the night side. There's no cute graphics on it or anything, but it's definitely a concept album about New York City, day and night. And I just thought it was cool that one was dark and one was light. So I kind of thought of that immediately when I thought of this question. So there is Unique Center Label. All right, pre-band. Unbelievable. I don't know if any of you know this or not, but this is an album that turned 50 years old this year. Abbey Road. It's by the Beatles. Okay? And there's a guy in this band. He's right here. His name is Paul McCartney. And after this album was released, shortly after this album was released, the band broke up, these Beatles guys, the Beatles, and Paul went on to this incredible solo career in Wings, and then later as a solo artist. So if you're looking for somebody who wasn't too famous back in the day and that became famous later, I would go with this guy, Paul McCartney. I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but he was in a band called Wings later. Anyway, next up is musical book. Oh, the book. I don't have the book with me. I'm so sorry. My friend Jim Santora, who wrote this really cool book a couple of years ago that I'm picking for this question. I have it. I've read it. It's in my house somewhere. It should be in my music room. It's not. It's called 200 albums that are underrated. It's called the Underrated Rock Book, and I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out yourself. It'll bring you to a lot of new music, especially if you like hard rock and heavy metal. Very cool book, and he just happens to be a friend of mine, lives nearby, so I thought I would use that as my selection for books. So check out in the link below. It's good stuff. Underrated album, no question. The most underrated album in this collection, The Shoes. Present tense. How these guys were not humongous. I found these guys on MTV, as a lot of people did. It's power pop brilliance. They made several albums after this one that were all decent but not great. Present tense is just, it's one of those perfect power pop records. Highly recommend this. It's by Shoes. And I think you have trouble if you try to find The Shoes, you won't find it. You got to just type Shoes. Anyway, great album, very underrated. Shoes, present tense. Batting average. I'm going to go to some modern music for this one. A band that's never put out a bad album. Batting average is 1,000, and that is my favorite modern day band at the moment. That's 21 Pilots. This is their most recent release, Trench. But before that, we had Blurry Face, which is a phenomenal record from a few years back. And then before that was Vessel. And you can get all of these pretty easily. And there's several variants of each one that you could search for if you're into that kind of thing. But this album was my album of the year last year, and they just keep getting better. They're a great modern band. 21 Pilots, also a great live band if you haven't seen them. So they're batting 1,000 for me. Same album, different cover. Again, a shout out to my daughter Sadie, who right away came up with this, and it's a perfect choice. Most of you know this album. All of you know this album. This is Hello, I Must Be Going by Phil Collins, 1982. And then was re-released. Let me get rid of this for the glare, but there you go. There it is. And I'll get rid of this one too. I think I've shown this in a video before. But there's the original when he was a young lad. And then they reshot the cover as not such a young lad. And this one came out in 2016, I believe, 2017. Really cool. You can look at that all day. They did that with all the Phil Collins records. So that's my same album, different cover. I was going to go with Split Ends. Everybody knows Split Ends with the different colors. Also Genesis Abacab. I have 2 or 3 of those also back there, but that one seemed much cooler to me. Album that you bought cheap that's now worth money. I got nothing for that because, again, just like with my original pressings comment earlier, I don't really know what they're worth. I don't really care. I don't think I have anything worth too much money, maybe 30, 40 bucks maybe. And I don't remember what I paid for it, so I really can't make that comparison. So I'll have to skip that one. Drummer. My favorite drummer in the world, even though I'm a huge Rush fan, is not Neil Peart. My favorite drummer is Mike Portnoy, and he's in a lot of bands. You probably know him from Dream Theater. You probably know him anyway. But the most recent album he was on was this Flying Colors, Third Degree, which is one of my albums of the year this year. There he is. There's Mr. Mike Portnoy right there. You can always find him with the blue beard. This is a great double album, a super group, by the way, with Steve Morse from Deep Purple, and Neil Morse, of course, from Spock's Beard. Flying Colors, Third Degree, highly recommend it. But Mike Portnoy, who has done some 20 albums or so with Neil Morse, is my favorite drummer in the world and has been for many years. And his a new album with Sons of Apollo is coming out next week. Great band. You should definitely check that out. 2 more. What albums are turning 20? Okay. I don't own a single LP that came out in 2000. Not a single one. I scoured. I can't believe I don't. But I do have CDs from then, so please excuse the CD. But this is one of my favorite bands of all time, Aha. And this is a terrific album. It's called Minor Earth, Major Sky. Pardon me. 13 tracks, phenomenal. This is the first time I've ever shown a CD on my channel. But I don't have it on vinyl. I only have I like to collect the Aha discography on vinyl. This one I do not have, Minor Earth, Major Sky. I was going to mention Spock's Beard's 5, which is a phenomenal record, but I couldn't find the CD. My CDs are not in the music room. They're actually downstairs in my basement, packed away in boxes. So I went down and dug through and got that one out. All right, last question. Best trilogy. Billy Joel is not one of my favorite artists of all time, but if he made albums like these 3 in his whole career, he would absolutely be my favorite artist of all time, because these are just splendid. 3 albums back to back: Street Life Serenade, Turnstiles, and of course, The Stranger. All very easily gettable. wherever records are sold. There really has not been a more perfect album back to back to back. And then 52nd Street came out after The Stranger. So really you can argue that it was 4 in a row. But the question was 3. Maybe next year we'll do 4. Piano Man was before this. A few others were before this. But this is where he just was at his absolute peak and best. There's not a bad song on any of these 3. They're better on vinyl, much better on vinyl, and better listened to as wholes, even though none of them are really concept records. They're meant to be listened to the way they were intended to be listened to, which is on album. All right, well, I think that's it. There's no 21 questions, so that is the vinyl tag for 2020. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again real soon. Have a good day.